progress.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. Great to see everybody. And we have a fantastic topic today. The Gemara on Daf Iyun Daled Amud Aleph brings a statement of Rav Acha bar Yaakov named Rabbi Yochanan. If you're Mekadesh a woman al Tnai and you lived with her, you do not need a get, because the Tnai was unfulfilled, and the Tnai is Mavatal the Kedushin. So Rav Acha bar Yaakov's nephew asked that we know Chalitza Muta'as is a good Chalitza. What's Chalitza Mutas? Where you say, give her Chalitza on condition that she gives you 200 zuz. To which the Gemara says, we see that if you do a Maisa, the Tnai is Batal. Here too, when you make a Tnai in the Kedushin and then there's Bia, the Tnai should be Batal. To which his uncle said, are you asking a good question? What's the source of Tnaim, the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain? In the situation of Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, Moshe Rabbeinu said, I will give you, if you fight ahead of your brethren, I will give you Eretz Yisrael. But if you do not fight ahead of your brethren, then I will not give you Eretz Yisrael. In other words, if you want the Ever LeYarden, if you want the portion of land, if you want that share that you've been eyeing, if you Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain would like the Transjordan, then you have to go fight ahead of your brethren. If you do not fight ahead of your brethren, I will not give you Eretz Yisrael. I will not give you the Ever LeYarden. Now in that situation, Moshe Rabbeinu's Maisa of giving Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain the Ever LeYarden was able to be done through a Shliach. Moshe Rabbeinu in fact did do it through a Shliach. He gave Eretz Yisrael, he gave the Ever LeYarden, the Transjordan, to Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain through a Shliach. So, since the source of stipulations of Tnaim is Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, so then only a Tnai would only help in something that you could do the Maisa through a Shliach, like by Moshe Rabbeinu. But by Chalitza, where you can't do the Maisa through a Shliach because she has to remove his shoe, in such a situation, a Tnai is invalid. That's what the Gemara says. That it's not because the Maisa is Mavatal the Tnai. No, there's a totally different reason for that. The reason is because there's a totally different reason. The reason here is because the Tnai is not a good Tnai because it's in a Maisa that cannot be done through a Shliach. Okay? That is the Gemara. That the source of Tnaim is Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, and since that's the source of Tnaim, therefore it has to be something that it's Efshar al Yedei a Shliach. Okay. Now comes Tosfos. And Tosfos says something very important. Tosfos, the second Tosfos asks, here, let me get it up on the screen here. Tosfos asks, Tnai, the Efshar l'kiyumei adei shliach, v'im toimar, u'mas svara yesh kan. What logic is there here? D'loi gamrinan mei hasam, we don't learn out from the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, ela le'inyan mashu svara, only what's logical. D'haloi alfinan mei hasam, we don't learn out from there, D'loi mahani Tnai, that a Tnai doesn't help, ella b'nesinas karka, only by giving land. In other words, Tosfos is asking that the fact that the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain is the paradigm of a Tnai, there has to be a logic for it. It's not Exeris HaKasav. If it was Exeris HaKasav, we should say, well, just like Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, it was a Tnai in giving land, so too, maybe you should only be able to make a Tnai when you give land, but not by marriage. But we don't say such a thing because there's no logic for that. So what does that teach us? That teaches us there has to be a rationale and a logic behind what we're going to glean from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain. Because we only learn out from there what's logical. We don't learn out from there that a Tnai only helps when you give land. So that shows the Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain is a paradigm of a Tnai provided that there's a logic for it. So what logic is there that a Tnai only helps in a situation where you could make a Shliach on the Maisa? So listen to what Tosfos says. V'yesh loymar dahainu taima. This is the logic. Dahol v'hamaisa kol kach biyadai. Since the act is so much in your control, sheyachal l'kaimai ayidei shliach, that you could fulfill it through a shliach, svarahu, it's a logic, sheyehei k'moi kein biyadai, that it should likewise be in your control, l'shavuya b'tnai, to make a stipulation. Ava chalitza, she'in biyadai l'kaimai ayidei shliach. Chalitza, where you can't do it through a shliach, lo hava biyadai nami l'mirmei b'tnai, so you don't have as much control to make a tnai. And therefore, va'afilu lo yiskayim at-tnai, even if the tnai is not fulfilled, yia hamaisa kayam, the act would remain standing. Umisham hachsvara moidu kulei alma, because of this compelling logic, everyone agrees. To be'inan she'efshar l'kaimei ayidei shliach, that you need to be able to fulfill it through a shliach. Dumya d'bnei Gad uvnei Reuven. The requirement of, let's say, Tnai kafel, that we know Reb Meir holds you need a Tnai kafel, that logic is not so compelling. So there's an argument, do you need a Tnai kafel or not? But regarding, do you have to be able to do it through a Shliach in order to make a Tnai? There's a compelling logic to that. What's the compelling logic? That, what does a Tnai mean? A Tnai means I could control when and how this thing should be effective or not. Well, we only will give you that license to control how effective it should be if you have enough control that you could ask someone else to do it. But if you can't ask someone else to do it, then you should not be able to control how it is made. Okay, that's the logic of Tosfos. The Pnei Yeshua questions the rationale of this svara of Tosfos. The Pnei Yeshua says that it's ibcha mistabra. The Pnei Yeshua says just the opposite. Pnei Yeshua says, "Anias daiti zu asvar temua yoser." That this svara is perplexing, because the more the act is in your hand, the more you shouldn't be able to make a Tnai. Think about it. The fact that I control the Maisa means it's more of a Maisa. So if it's more of a Maisa, then lo yasi dibur mavatal a Maisa. So I should say the Tnai doesn't work. Meaning Pnei Yeshua says, if I could control the act by making a Shliach, that means it's a real Maisa. The more of a Maisa it is, the less likely you should be able to make a Tnai in it. Okay, so therefore the Pnei Yeshua says the opposite. V'luli she'enei kedai. If not for the fact that I'm not worthy, la'achriya svarasam, I would say the opposite. That if it's a Maisa that I could do through a Shliach, it's not a Maisa Gamor. A Maisa Gamor you can't do through a Shliach. So it's not a Maisa Gamor, then Tnai comes and it could be Mavatal it. If I can't do it through a Shliach, if I could do it through a Shliach, it's not a real Maisa. A real Maisa, you can't ask someone else to do for you. Because anytime a Maisa is totally in your guf, you can't do it through a Shliach. Oh, it's a Maisa Gamur. I can't make a Tnai. Delayasi dibur mavatal a Maisa. A dibur can't be mavatal the Maisa. Masha'en kain heichad efshai dei Shliach. But if it's something like giving Eretz Yisrael, which is not a real Maisa, I could ask someone else to do with it. Do it for me. Ein kan Maisa Gamur. So I can make a Tnai. So let's contrast Tosfos and the Pnei Yeshua. Tosfos learns being able to make a Shliach demonstrates bailos, control. So if I can make a Shliach and I have bailos to make a Shliach, I have bailos to make a Tnai. If I can't make a Shliach, I don't have bailos to make a Shliach, I don't have bailos to make a Tnai. Pnei Yeshua says just the opposite. The fact that I can make a shliach shows it's not a major league maisa. It's not a major league maisa, I could be mavatal it b'dibor. However...
So how does it fit with the Gemara? How does the Pnei Yeshua fit with the Gemara?
The Gemara is beautiful. Where do we learn out Tnahim from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain? Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, that's a maisa Moshe could do through a shliach. It's not a real maisa, so Moshe could be mavatal with a Tnai. But chalitza, which is a real maisa, because you have to do it yourself, that lo yasi dibur mavatal maisa. That's how the Pnei Yeshua would read the Gemara. Now, I would ask on the Pnei Yeshua, if the reason why Tnai doesn't help by a real maisa is because a Tnai is words and maisa is an act, and lo yasi dibur mavatal maisa, so even if I could do it through a shliach, it's still a maisa, albeit a weak one. I shouldn't be able to make a Tnai. The Ritva seems to say like the Pnei Yeshua. The Ritva says, "V'afagav deloi gamrina mitnai bnei Gad bnei Ruvain legabe Tnai kafel v'hein kodim lalav." We don't learn everything out from Tnai Gad bnei Ruvain. We don't learn out that it has to be doubled. We don't learn out that the yes has to come before no. This we do learn out. The Svarahu. The kivan de maisa de loy olam kulei hai de lesai de shliach. Since it's such a strong maisa that you can't do it through a shliach, a Tnai doesn't work. So the Pnei Yeshua seems to be saying a svara like the Ritva seems to be saying a svara the way we learned the Pnei Yeshua, that a really strong maisa lo yasi Tnai mavato maisa. The $1 million question is that what's the halacha if a person wants to wear Rabbeinu Tam tefillin? So the Shulchan Aruch says in Archaim Siman Lamed Daled, have kavana that the one that is aliba de hilchasa, I'm being yotzei my chayv, because otherwise you get into an issue of Baal Tosef. Question. That means you can make a Tnai in putting on tefillin. Could I have someone put on tefillin for me? It's a mitzvah shabagufai, and yet a Tnai works. Or Siman Mem Vav, where we say in the morning before Rabbi Shmuel Omer, when you say Shema, the halacha is you should say Baruch Shem, in case if the tzibur doesn't say Shema Bizmanoi, so you're masne that if I don't end up saying Shema Bizmanoi, I want to be Yotzei now. Otherwise it should be Kakar B'Torah. That means you can make a Tnai in Kriya Shema. Or a famous Tnai is the Tnai of the Avnei Nezer, where you say if the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, I'm eating the afikomen now, and then I'll eat the meal after chatzos, and I'm allowed to eat after chatzos because this man of the afikomen is over. And if the halacha is like Rabbi Akiva, so then I'll be yotzi afikomen later, after my suda. How could you make a Tnai? You can't ask someone else to eat afikomen for you. Meaning, we could use whether Tosfos Svara or the Pnei Yeshua Svara, how could you make a Tnai in mitzvahs? According to Tosfos, if I can't appoint a Shliach, means I don't have bailis over the situation. If I don't have bailis over the situation, then how could I make a Tnai? According to the Pnei Yeshua, if I can't appoint a Shliach, it's a full-fledged Maisa. So lo yasi dibur mavata Maisa. So how could I make a Tnai? So that's what we're going to address today. So let's see Rabbi Chanan. Rabbi Chanan says, "V'nira diyesh shnei minei shlichos." There are two types of agencies. Heicha debalav hashlichos eina ma'isa klum. That without shlichos the act is nothing. Kamay b'shliach lagaresh. The eina demagaresh eshes chaverai. You can't divorce your friend's wife for him. Oy b'shliach limkar, or shliach to sell. The eina demaychar davar she'ena shel b'lay shlichos. A person can't sell something that doesn't belong to him without shlichos. Or So these are instances that without shlichus, what you're doing is nothing. Or heicha de guf hamaisa ein tzarich shlichus. Let's say where the act doesn't need shlichus. Let's say shlichus l'dvar avera, where I'm doing the avera, and the shlichus is just there to attribute the maisa to the mishaleach. Uva'ofen orishan, in the first situation, without the shlichus, where the maisa is not chalal at all, the dafka habaylam yeshlam hakoach lefo chalois adin v'loi acher, only the baylam could effectuate. Ela d'chshu oiser shliach, just when he makes the shliach, hu moiser koach la shliach, he's giving that ability to the shliach. V'zeh einoi shayach, this is only shayach ela hecha sha'adam hu apoyel as chalois hadin. This is only shayach, only where the person is effectuating the chalois. But where the din is chal by itself through the maisa, the din that you need shlichus to be able to effectuate any type of maisa, that only is true where the person is making the chalois. But if the chalois happens by itself through the maisa, you can't give that to a shliach. Why? He himself can't do it. Let's give an example. Ula dugma, begerishin. Shahabalhu hamater. The husband is the mater. Yuchal limsar koichel shliach lahater. He could give that ability to the shliach. By gerishin, the Baal is mater his wife. So since his maisa, in his control, is mater his wife, he could give that over to someone else. Ava b'chalitza, is the maisa of chalitza mater? Imkein, ein lahayavam koyach lahater. Then the yavam has no koyach to be mater. V'lo yuchal limsar koyach haheter al shliach. He can't give the koyach haheter to the shliach. The milsa di'iu loy matzi, something that he can't do, he can't give over. The maisa is only mutares if it's done through the yavam or the yavama, and therefore shlichus doesn't help. That the shliach should be like the yavam. For example, could a kohen make a zar, a shliach, to do the avodah? That he should be like a kohen? Look at the end over here. Mishum hachi loy mahani ba Tnai k'moy b'chalitza, the kivan da heter chal me'elav loy shayach lahatel Tnai b'chalois ha-heter. Listen to what Rabbi Chanan is saying. Says Rabbi Chanan, you know when you can make a shliach? You can only make a shliach if you have the capacity to do something, then you could give it over to someone else. But what if you're not doing it? What if the effectuation happens by itself? The maisa is payal the chalois, not the adam. By gerushin, the Baal is matir, the Adam is matir, he could then give it over to the Shliach. But by Chalitza, it's not the Adam that's matir, it's the Maisa that's matir. So I can't give it over to you. I can't give you over the Maisa. Okay, yesh, we could try to figure out why is that? What proof does Rabbi Chanan have that by Gerushin the Baal is matir, and by Chalitza the act of Chalitza is matir? But if you accept that there's a difference between the person and the act, that if it's the person can give over his personage to someone else. If it's the act, he can't give over the Chalitza to someone else. Rabbi Chanan says, likewise, a Tnai could only help if I'm doing it. So I'm doing it, I will determine how it's done. But if I'm not doing it, it's the act that does it. It's not I can't make a Tnai. By chalitza, I can't make a shliach. Why? Because it's the act. If it's the act and it's not me, I can't make a Tnai. By gerushin, it's me. If it's me, I can make a Tnai. So comes Rav Pinchas Scheinberg, and he says, this might explain why you can make a Tnai in mitzvahs. What's the reason why I can't make a Tnai in chalitza? Because I'm not the bailam in it. Why am I not the bailam in it? Because I'm not the one making the chalois, it's the act making the chalois. It happens by itself. But by mitzvahs, says Reb Scheinberg, the reason why I can't appoint a shliach is not because I'm not the bailam on the chalois happens by itself. It's a separate din. Mitzvah shebegufai. My body has to be the one doing the mitzvah. Okay, this is how Reb Scheinberg explains based on Rabbi Chanan. These are the Maramakaimos provided on this subject by the Daf Hashavua program. I want to share with you, I think, and to my mind, a more straightforward approach to this. And this is presented by Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank. Again, the simple question is that we have two svaros. Why only an act that you could do through a shliach you can make a Tnai? Tosfos says, if I'm enough of a bailim that I can make a shliach, I can make a Tnai. If I'm not enough of a bailim to make a shliach, then I can't make a Tnai. So which we asked, well, you're not enough of a bailim to over mitzvahs to appoint someone to do it, so how could you make a Tnai? Or according to the Pnei Yeshua, if it's not a strong act because I can make a shliach, then I can make a Tnai. But if it's such a strong act that I can't have someone else do it for me, I can't be mavato b'dibor. So then how could you make a Tnai in mitzvahs? So Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank in Mikroi Kodesh, Chelek Beis, Simin Nun Vav it looks like. In the footnotes, he brings as follows. Says Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank that my son-in-law asked, in the name of Shimon Shkop, how does a Tnai help in tefillin? But it's Ef Shal Yidei Shliach. To which Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank says, we could use a Ramban in Baba Basra. Why could a Nazir make a Tnai? He can't make a Shliach to do the Naziris for him. Why could he make a Tnai? Because we only learn out from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain when it's a Tnai bein Adam lachaveroi. But a Tnai bein Adam la'atzmai always works. You hear the Ramban? The situation of Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain is bein Adam lachaver. Moshe Rabbeinu is making a stipulation. It's between two parties. But when I'm doing a mitzvah, it's between me and myself. Then a Tnai does work. What would the logic of that be? I would say the logic is, it's a matter of control. When I'm dealing with you, how do I determine if I have enough control over the situation that I can make a stipulation? If I control the situation, I can have someone do it for me. So then, if I can have somebody do it for me, so then I can make a Tnai. That's the barometer to determine what level my control is over the situation. But that's between two parties. Masha'im Kain, if it's between me and myself, says Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank, then I don't have to ask myself, do I have enough control over the situation? What do you mean, do I have enough control over the situation? It's my situation. It's my mitzvah. I only have to determine. Right, so the issue is like this. Can a person make a Tnai? So we say, what do you mean make a Tnai? You're dealing with, it's between you and somebody else. Yeah. Maybe you don't have enough control over the situation to make a Tnai in the stipulation between you and someone else. So we say, no. If I have enough control of the situation, like Tosfos says, that I can make a Shliach, then I have enough control to make a Tnai. But says the Ramban, that's only Bein Adam L'Chaveroi. But Bein Adam L'Atzmoi, then we don't learn out from Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, you have to be able to make a Shliach. And I think the logic is, because if it's between you and yourself, you are already the only governing individual over the situation. We don't have to determine, do you have enough control? There's no lack of control. You're the one doing it. That's how I believe Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank would answer this kasha of the Achronim, that if Tnai we learn out from Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven only in situations where you can make a Shliach, then how could you make a Tnai in a mitzvah? No, a mitzvah is different, the Ramban and Baba Basra says. A mitzvah is Bein Adam La'atzmai. But in the footnotes of the Har Tzvi, in the Mikroi Kodesh, there are notes called Harei Kedem. Harei Kodesh. Harei Kodesh was written by Reb Yosef Kohen, the father of Reb David Kohen. And I had this chus when I was learning Eretz Yisrael. I once heard a shiur from Rabbi Yosef Kohen, the father of the Kohen Rosh Yeshiva of Chevron. He's the one who put together the Mikroi Kodesh. He has footnotes. He quotes the Mishkanos Yaakov that asks this question that we're asking on Tosfos, that if the source of Tnaim is Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, and Tosfos is saying you can only make a Tnai if it's Efshar al Yidei Shliach, because only then you're the Bailam. So then, why are you allowed to make a Tnai in mitzvahs? And the Mishkanos Yaakov says that based on Tosfos we have an answer. The had de ba'in and efshel kamadei shliach misvara asyalan. We learn out misvara. The kivan shahamaisa kol kach biyadei shachal asa shliach. Since the mice is so much in your control, you can make a Tnai. The hezber is that if I can't make a shliach, there's a chesaron in my bailus over the situation, so I can't make a Tnai in the situation. But says the Mishkanos Yaakov, a mitzvah that's a choiv on a person, let's say Kriya Shema, Tfilin, Afikoiman, is there any chesaron in the bailus? You see, if Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Bnei Gad, if you go over Liyarden and you fight for Klal Yisrael, I'll give you Le'ever Liyarden. And if you don't, I won't give it to you. So now there's a struggle here between two parties. How much control does Moshe Rabbeinu have to say he's only going to give the Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven if they fulfill their end of the deal? So then there's a compelling logic. If Moshe Rabbeinu controls the situation ad kedei kach, he could even have Yoshua ben Nun give the land, so he doesn't even have to do it himself, he could appoint someone else, so then he has enough control to make a Tnai. However, if he does not have enough control over the situation to appoint a Shliach, he does not have enough control to make a Tnai. So Rabbi Yosef Cohen says this could be what the Ramban means. Bein Adam L'Chaveroi, you need to have Bailos. And if you don't have Bailos that you can make a Shliach, then you can't make a Tnai. Masha'en Kain, Bein Adam La'atzmai, it's not noga anybody else. Why should it be Talei on the Bailos of the Masna? It's not noga anybody else. You're the only Bailam over here. Okay? That's what we got today. So again, just to summarize, Tosfos says, the Gemara says, we learn out Tnam from Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven. Therefore, only Tnam that you can make a Shliach, you can make a Tnai. Tnam that you can't make a Shliach, you can't make a Tnai. Tosfos asks, but we don't just arbitrarily learn out from Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven. There has to be a logic to it. So what's the logic only where you can make a Shliach? So we have a Machlokes Tosfos and the Ritva. Tosfos says, if you could make a Shliach, that shows the Maises biyadai, you're a Bailam, so you can make a Tnai. If you can't make a Shliach, it's not biyadai, you can't make a Tnai. Pnei Yeshua, the Ritva learns the opposite. That if you can make a Shliach, it means it's a weaker Maisa. It's a weaker Maisa, you could be Mavatal at Bedibor. If you can't make a Shliach, it's a strong Maisa. It's a strong Maisa, you can't be Mavatal at Bedibor. We asked, according to both Mahalchim, how could you make a Tnai in a mitzvah? You can't make a Shliach, so it shows it's a strong Maisa. and it shows you have a lack of bailas. And ultimately, the answer that Tzvi Pesach Frank gives and that Rabbi Yosef Cohen gives is that it only shows a lack of bailos if there's another party involved. So then we have a question: who's in control of the situation? But if it's just between you and yourself, because it's a matter of kiyam mitzvah, then we say that it is not relevant whether you're able to make a shliach, because there's no question about your bailos over the situation. Okay, everyone? That's what we got today. Have a wonderful day. Okay, bracha v'atzlacha. Kol tov.
How do you determine when you have a Maisa and a Baal, how do you know which one is stronger? Look, for example, someone's making a kinyan, you're going to buy something. In that case, obviously the Baal can make the Shliach. So you say it's not the Maisa that's Iker, but Chalitza, you say the Maisa is the Iker. How do you determine which one's stronger, the Baal or the Maisa?
We don't. It's not a matter of determining whether the Baal is stronger or the Maisa. By Chalitza, you mean determining who makes the chalois, the person or the act?
Right.
It seems like chalitza is exeres hakosov.
So I was thinking there is a difference, and I don't know if this is true, but every time if a shliach could do the same thing, then he can make a shliach. If a shliach can't do it, you can't. In other words, a shliach could go buy something from somebody. You could make him a shliach. He says, "I'm buying it myself." You're allowed to. With chalitza, you need the Baal to do the chalitza of the chalitza. You can't send the shliach because the shliach can't do it himself. Is that possible? If that's the difference?
Yeah, I hear. Why can't you send the shliach for chalitza?
Because you need the Baal to do the physical chalitza.
So if you need the Baal, then what? The Maisa does it and not the Baal?
Then the Maisa does it and not. Therefore, the Baal cannot make a shliach. But if you're making a shliach to do something, and the shliach could say, "I don't want it. I'll do it myself." Like buying something, there you're allowed to make a shliach.
You can make a shliach if the Baal could do it himself. So by Gerushin you could make a shliach, and by Kedushin you could do a shliach, even though by Kedushin he could do it himself. By Gerushin he can't do it himself, right?
Gerushin's the problem. Yeah.
Okay, have a good day everyone. Shkayach. Kol tov.